y'all. So, look, I may have to pause this show until November because I just do not know if I have the patience. Ooh, child. Honey, baby, I am calling on the ancestors for the next 2.5 months because I am ready to cut a bitch. Also, 3 weeks past scheduled delivery and still no elliptical. I've lost a pound just out of sheer frustration in dealing with this, but I have AC, so I guess I'm good. Alright, now that I got that out of the way, enjoy this excerpt from yesterday's audition sesh with Jamie Dion, actor extraordinaire.
Racism is bad. Black people are good. Where's my frame right now? Can you take a look? Hey.
And scene. So, yesterday, Clorinda and I met and did a pre-interview with our guest for next week, Ngozi. And within the very first question, she had me crying because of a realization I made about past trauma and how that discourages one, i.e. me, from speaking up later, specifically as a minority and taking up space. I mean, tears, just, yes. So, Ngozi will be on this show as soon as You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go ahead and cut today's episode and introduce Ngozi because I'm excited to have her en masse. Clorinda, why does that always get me? Someone tell me what the correct grammar is. Clorinda and I have started. Dear God, someone please cut me off. Clorinda and I have started our Mutual Admiration Society social where we get together every 2 weeks and we just not only mutually admire each other but talk about issues. It's a chance for us to check in and discuss cool topics. Those dogs are driving me crazy. So Ngozi's going to be on next week. We'll be discussing the topic of taking up space as minority, and child, Ngozi has stories for days. But enough of me talking. Let me go ahead and introduce you to my dear friend Ngozi. Alright, y'all. Today I have a very dear guest on today, my dear friend Ngozi. She is... What do you do?
So I'm a mental health therapist. Specifically right now, I work with children in a school setting, so I'm a school-based mental health therapist. But I'm actually working right now on improving my training and my competency to work with adults.
Okay.
But right now, my main focus is adolescents. So I work with children in kindergarten all the way up to high school.
Fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Yes, because middle school is a mess.
Right? Like, I could not imagine trying to deal with middle school me, and I know some of the stories you told me about the children who come through.
Yes. But middle school is, I think, the time that kids need it, though, because middle school is hard for everybody.
Right.
But then you add on layers of poverty, divorce. I have a client who lost both of her parents within 2 weeks, and then she's 13. So you got all the hormonal changes, grief. And I mean, you're 13, right? You're going through all those changes, first dates and boyfriends, and your mom is gone. So helping to build coping skills at that age so that when they're adults, because life is hard. It doesn't get easier once you get out of middle school. It's just the worst time of your life is middle school.
Compounds on you.
So I'm really big on making sure these kids have coping skills later on, because at the end of the day, you're going to need it at some time. Eventually, at some point in your life, you'll suffer a loss or something. And it's better to have the skills now when you don't necessarily need them all the time than later when something catastrophic happens. Now you're like, what do I do?
Right. Okay. That is good to know all of that. What was the driving force? And so you went and you got your master's after getting your undergrad, and you got it in clinical. I'm gonna mess it all up, so I'm gonna let you say it.
So it's weird. So my master's degree is in clinical counseling psychology, which to get licensed in Georgia, you just need it in clinical counseling, and that's most master's programs. But then they add the psychology piece because I did have to complete a thesis in order to graduate. So that's what the psychology part is for.
Okay. What drove you into that field?
So weird. This is always so weird. And I know it's weird because most people aren't like this, but I have wanted to be a counselor since I was 8.
Okay. All right.
Really? I know
Tell
it's weird.
Tell me more.
So basically, so my parents were going back to school when we were kids, living here. And I stumbled across a psychology book, and I, found it fascinating. And then as I was growing up, like, all of my friends would come to me with like advice or just to talk in general. And I guess I've always exhibited like the spirit where people can just feel the need to share their life story with me.
Right.
So then as I was growing up, I realized like, oh no, this is a thing. Like people do like pay you to do this.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, this is what I want to do. And I remember telling my parents all the time, like, oh, I want to be like, I first wanted to be a psychiatrist because I didn't know that counseling was just like a field in and of itself. In Nigerian culture, the only thing you're allowed to be is a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer.
That's fair.
So it's like, okay, psychiatry. And then I realized, no, you can just be a regular counselor. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And I've always just wanted to help people live a healthier life. Like, just because something was how it was before or how you grew up doesn't mean it has to stay that way. It is possible to live a better life than where you were.
Yeah.
So I'm really big on people having the tools they need to craft the life they want to make.
I love that. And like you said, getting in early and teaching those coping skills helps prevent problems later on. Like,
yes.
Literally making that difference. So with all of that said, we've got the whole pandemic going on.
Yes.
How have you been faring in the pandemic?
Well, so for me, I'm dealing with the same anxieties everybody else is dealing with, pandemic life. And then I'm also tasked with helping people manage their own anxieties with the pandemic.
Right. That's like a double whammy, it seems.
Yes. So for me, it has been a bit of a challenge because I work from home because with everything going on, they took us out of the clinic and school is closed. So I definitely can't go back to school.
Right.
So my schedule basically consists of waking up, going to work in the basement, getting done with work from the basement, going upstairs just to have something else, like a change of scenery, to go to the basement to do my workout. So it's very important. It's been really important for me to be more focused on like, okay, where am I at emotionally with everything going on, and using the same clinical skills that I would teach my clients on myself. So being focused on especially like my nutrition, what can I control?
Right.
And that is my food. So like making sure I'm getting all of my meals in, staying focused on making sure I do my workouts. That's something else too that's really important to me is like working out, lifting. I like to consider myself like an amateur bodybuilder right now.
We're going to fill them in that you competed last year for the first time in a bodybuilding contest, right?
Yes.
Okay, tell me more about that. So, I decided that you're just going to have to tune in tomorrow for part 2 of that interview where she talks about her bodybuilding contest, and then part 3 where she actually finishes up how she's been dealing with the pandemic. As always, continue bearing the lightness of being. I love y'all, and until next time. I don't know if I have any after show banter, but, it is what it is. Look, there was a whole thread on Facebook that just confused the hell out of me, and I did not know if they were joking about what their intentions were for November, but it has me shook, and I'm just like, because of the way that the Dems have been handling this pandemic, like, excuse me, what? Neither here nor there, which is why I'm going to cut it rich. Anyways, I digress. Love y'all.